Hey, how's it going, guys? So this is just going to be a sort of quick video about the internals and the overall construction quality of the Umarex or Elite Force MP5A5. This is the competition variant, so you have a full nylon polymer reinforced body. This is the left side. It's all pretty good. The casting quality is a lot better than I've seen on other AEGs around this price point. I believe this is $155 to $170 depending on where you get it. Um, and it's kind of notorious for having a really slow fire rate, but it's, again, a beginner AEG. I picked this one up off of Craigslist for 30 bucks. So I just figured it'd be a really cool project. So, getting down to the internals, a lot of people say the internals are OEM by VFC. I have not seen any markings or indications that it is VFC. So I'm gonna base this off of the assumption that this is OEM by Umarex or Elite Force. They're the same company. So, getting into the meat and potatoes of this thing, I'm going to start off with the piston, because this is what really surprised me. It's a full nylon piston. You see it has serrations in it, and it also has a full steel rack of teeth. Full steel, as well as a missing tooth. Now that's intentional. It's cast like that, so that it's like they're looking out for the techs who want to correct angle of engagement. The piston head, of course, it's lacking. This thing doesn't have any compression whatsoever, but it does shoot around 370 right out of the box. Here's your cylinder head, again made out of the same material, it feels like. Single O-ring, a little bit of a sorbo pad there. Nothing spectacular, but this is what really surprised me. So this should be able to handle, you shouldn't have to upgrade your piston if you really want to get some peak performance out of this gearbox. Now, the only gear that has a ball bearing is this guy right here. The rest are 6mm bushings. They are not shimmed, so I will be needing to shim that, and I will do another video on that when I get some shims and some extra parts in. Casting of the gearbox it's what you'd expect from a $155 gun. Some of the casting flashing is still left, it's not polished. But again, for $155, it's similar quality to a CYMA, or CYMA, however you'd like to pronounce that. That's what I see this as. Similar quality, similar construction. The only thing that has really concerned me in this are these parts right here. This is the tappet plate. This is clear polycarbonate. It's got some flex to it, but overall it feels pretty brittle. So I would expect this to be your failure point, number one. I would expect this to be number one failure point, especially right here, where your sector delay hits it. So if you're planning on upgrading this gearbox, I'd recommend upgrading this first if you're going for high rate of fire. As well as, go ahead and upgrade your nozzle. This is made of the same material. It's just a blow-formed, one-piece, really chintzy little nozzle. But then again, it's a $155 gun. You're not gonna get, Crytek quality or Ares Amoeba series quality. The spring feels like an M110 or an M100. It's pretty light, and this is of course, a version 2 gearbox. So you have your standard V2 gearbox, spring guide. It's made of the same material as a piston, really high quality polycarbonate. And this, unless you want to go with a ball bearing one to reduce the wear on your motor and the stress, this thing is gonna handle whatever you throw at it. So overall, the internal construction of this is pretty good. Again, these are the only two parts that I would really recommend upgrading if you're going for a high rate of fire. Of course, convert it to Deans, and if you want more compression, I'd upgrade your cylinder, piston head, and cylinder head, because these parts are just kind of garbage. But your cylinder, or your piston rather, my bad, this is really surprising. Really happy about that. Now, because this is a V2, if you want to install a MOSFET, such as a Jeftron Leviathan, you're going to run into the issue with the trigger. Because MP5s, of course, have a much bigger trigger than your standard M4. So, I do plan on eventually getting a Jeftron Leviathan. I'm going to install it and see if I can mod this trigger to be able to work with it. But before then, I'm going to do a whole bunch of other stuff with this. One of the first ones is getting rid of this motor. The biggest complaint from people about this motor is that it heats up very quickly, and that's just running NiCad batteries. I'm going to be running 11.1 volt RC helicopter batteries in this, because I did it before in my Ares Amoeba CCP, and I'm going to be doing it in this. They're the cheapest LiPo batteries. They run Deans. They're 2000 milliamp hour, 25C discharge, and they're cheaper than the Airsoft specific LiPos, and they're the exact same. Some of them are even higher quality and lighter weight because they're meant for helicopters. So this motor, it's pretty trash. No neo magnets. It's just your standard magnets. And actually, one of the magnets is broken, and this gun has never been fired. You can see it right there. Actually broken from factory. But then again, same quality as SEMA. I mean, nothing spectacular. Good enough to get you going out of the box if you're just a newcomer to Airsoft and just looking for something to get out and play. Of course, brass cylinder, big ol' port right there. This actually feels like a bore up because there is no compression whatsoever. You can just wiggle this around in there. It's a pretty big air gap right there. So this is it's good enough to get 370 FPS out of the box apparently, but for high rate of fire and for high FPS, it's kind of lacking. So I'm going to list a few modifications that I have planned in the coming weeks down in the description below. Feel free to comment on what you think about the internals of this gun. I know this gun's a bit dated, and the new ones are coming out, and of course the G&G and their MP5 is probably the most popular, and one day I hope to get one of those because they are very, very cool. But this is just a little quick look at what's actually inside of it, because I haven't seen any videos on what's actually inside of this, so I decided to make one. It's a little bit tricky to take this thing apart. There's a lot of screws. It uses a hybrid hop-up unit. It's an AK slider, but it's an M4 size. So I might do some testing to see if I can fit a standard M4, just a standard M4 hop-up unit in there, and see what I can come up with. And then the barrel is a 603, just your run-of-the-mill AG barrel. I'm going to get a tight bore that's a bit longer for this. And really the only metal piece on this guy is your HK slap charging handle and your tri-lug. Those are really your only metal parts on this guy. But yeah, so just a little quick look at what the inside of this thing looks like. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section, and I will see you guys later.